Hello, Aubrey. How are you today?
I'm great, Lindsay. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I am so excited to get back into our series today on being concise. Aubrey, do you consider yourself a passive person?
Ooh, good question. No, I don't think I am. If I am really passionate about something or I feel like something is unjust or someone is being treated unfairly, I am not passive at all. I become very, active. Like I want to do something. So I don't think I'm
Nice.
passive. What about you, Lindsay?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I've been in the streets a lot lately for sure. But for me, when it comes to if there's a goal, there's something I really want to achieve, to create, I am definitely not passive. I will go after that goal and I
Absolutely.
will get a little bit obsessed with what I'm trying to build or create for sure. So I
Same.
think neither of us are very passive.
Correct,
Um,
right? But this is interesting
yeah.
because today we're talking about passive grammar. So, this is interesting that in English we have this adjective passive where you could describe a person as passive. So, they're just kind of go with the flow, laid back, not getting really
Mhm.
passionate and active about causes, maybe. And then we also have passive grammar. So, this is interesting because in this part 3 of this series about being concise, the grammar you use can affect how concise your message is.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I feel like often when we talk about being concise, we talk about vocabulary, we talk about using fewer words, maybe, but changing our grammar is something I haven't really thought about yet. And I bet our listeners haven't either. So
Yes.
I'm excited to get into it. But first, Aubrey, we want to call out some amazing listeners that reviewed our podcast. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, guys, makes a big difference for us when we see your review. It helps us to stay motivated. So, a big thank you to Daru Yuob from Taiwan, 5-star review. All of these, by the way, Aubrey, are 5-star reviews.
Amazing.
Salon Iraj from India, Miss LC from the US, Joseph M from Uzbekistan. Wow,
That's awesome.
fantastic. Rafael Santos from Brazil, and English Shiva from the US. A huge thank you to everyone that reviewed All Ears English. And Aubrey, what should our listeners do?
Yes, leave us a review. We read these. We really love to see them. And it does help other English learners find the podcast. So thank you to everyone who has left a review. And if you haven't yet, please go and leave us a review wherever you listen to the podcast.
Yes, we'll do our best to read your name out loud on the show if you do leave a review. So go ahead and leave that review for All Ears English. Aubrey, I bet our listeners are curious now what we're talking about. How can we do this by manipulating our grammar choices to be more concise?
Yeah, so it's vital that you prioritize clear, active language and also combine sentences in order to be more concise. So, like you said, Lindsay, yes, it does matter how concise your message is and the vocabulary you're choosing. That was
Mhm.
in the rest of the series, and you can absolutely listen to these out of order. So, stay to the end here, and we'll share how you can find part 1 and 2 if you missed them, because this is so important whether it's in daily conversations to be a better conversationalist
Yeah.
or at work to be more concise. This is a very vital skill.
Yeah, this is huge. And I love that we're doing this series. If you can master the skill of being concise, you can build confidence in your ability to communicate what you need to get on stages, to get in front of groups, and to start to become a leader. Okay. So, super
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah,
Yes.
so let's talk about the active voice, right? So, active versus passive. Active voice focuses on the subject performing the action, whereas passive voice focuses on the action being performed. So, if we look at a
Mm,
couple example sentences, you can see how, in this case, concise doesn't mean how many words we're using, but how direct we are being. So, for
okay.
example, if I say, the call was made by me, that is a
Mm-hmm.
passive construction. The
Mm-hmm.
focus is on the call. The subject of the sentence is the call. But if we
Right.
want to make this an active construction and make me the focus and make the sentence a lot more direct, how would we say that, Lindsay?
We could just say, I made the call, right? I made the call. Okay.
Exactly, right? And this
Good.
is interesting. You could be talking about a phone call or you
Uh
could be talking
huh.
about a decision. We also use the
Oh,
call to be like a decision I made. Well, it was my call. I made the
yeah.
call. It means that's the decision I made.
Oh, that's a good bonus learning for today for our
Yeah.
listeners, right? To make a call is not just make a phone call, it's to make a decision in kind of a casual way of saying that. right?
Yeah, but it's like you're accepting responsibility sort of for
Mhm.
the consequence of any decision. It's like, "It was
Yes.
my call," or "I made
Yes.
the call. I'm responsible in the end for the decision that was made."
Yeah, it makes me think of all the medical dramas that I always like a good medical drama, The Good Doctor and then ER, the original medical drama. There's so much energy and worry and anxiety in a hospital, right? And the
Yes, and we hear
pressure
this
that
doctor
doctors
saying, "Make
have.
the call. What's
Yeah,
what's the call?" Or they'll
and
say, "Call it," when it's like you
right.
have to determine cause of or time of death.
Or
Gotta call
and
it.
they're making these decisions under such pressure. You have 3
Absolutely.
seconds to decide what kind of med to administer. Oh my gosh, I could never be a doctor, Aubrey.
Right? They can't just take time to think through all of they have to be able to make these snap, immediate decisions.
Yeah. Okay. So coming back to using the active voice as a strategy to be more concise. Another example, instead of saying she was visited by him, what would be better? What would be more powerful, more concise?
Yeah, it could just say he visited her. So we will hear
Hmm.
this. We'll hear people use the active voice. It's very common in like academic writing, maybe instructions, pamphlets where people are trying to sound less direct, maybe more
Yes.
formal. But
Hmm.
when often your message, if you're wanting to be clear and direct and concise, you should use the active voice. It's less wordy. For these examples, it is less words and it's just more to the point.
Oh, all right. That's perfect. So that is our first tip on how to manipulate your grammar strategically to be more concise. What would be the second thing we could do, Aubrey, when it comes to grammar?
Yeah, the second thing is to combine sentences. So, individual simple sentences require breaks in speech. When there's a period, we take a breath, we pause a little bit. So, especially for speaking, if you're going to give a speech, a presentation, you will not want these choppy, simple sentences. Sometimes that's a strategy to emphasize that we use these individual, more simple sentences. We want those
Hmm.
breaks, but often we need to think about combining these sentences and removing those pauses to be more concise.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what exactly that means. So, this idea of avoiding repeating the subject is one thing that we could avoid repeating. So, for example, the phone is small, it is black, or it's black, instead of saying what?
Yeah, instead you could say the phone is small and black or the small phone is black,
Oh,
right?
I
If
see
you
what we mean.
combine it to remove the subject, whether that's actually the word a subject, the phone is small, the phone is black, that's even worse. Here
Yeah.
you have a pronoun replacing it at least, the phone is small, it is black.
Hmm.
Combine these sentences, have just
Hmm.
one subject and then the descriptors.
Yeah, I could imagine using this phrase if I lost my phone, right? And people are looking for my phone around the house. What does it look like? Oh, it's small and black and it has a sticker on it. And, you're giving the details. You're not going to start over and say, my phone is small, my phone is black. No, of course
Exactly.
not.
That's the opposite of being concise, right?
Yes.
So this may seem obvious, but once you are using more complex sentences, sometimes we will find ourselves repeating the subject or using pronouns when we should actually combine those sentences to be more concise. And not only should you avoid repeating the subject or using pronouns when it's unnecessary, sometimes you should just avoid using simple sentences. You can combine them into compound or complex sentences.
What does this look like, Aubrey? Can you give us an example of what you mean here?
Yeah. So, for example, if you're describing what someone did and you say, she arrived at 2 p.m. yesterday, she opened up the store, she then organized the shelves. You
Hmm.
can combine these sentences into one complex sentence. What would that look like, Lindsay?
Okay, so this is how, a native speaker would say it. She arrived at 2 p.m., opened up the store, and then organized the shelves. So here it's
Yes.
flowing together. It's not giving me a chance to get bored or to lose the momentum, right?
Exactly, right? And it's just making your message more direct, more concise. So, if you're planning ahead of time what to say for a presentation or even a conversation, and you want to avoid, taking the time for those stops, those breaks, the pauses that are necessary when we have these simple sentences, think ahead
Mhm.
of time. How could I combine this into either a compound sentence? That's where you have two independent clauses, two sentences that could stand on their own with a conjunction dividing them, or a
Mhm.
complex sentence that has lots of relative clauses, all of these interesting where you're combining multiple thoughts into one sentence.
Yes, I love it. Okay, Aubrey, we are back for our role play, our signature role play. So I am excited. We have two examples. One first is going to be a little less concise. So is this a what not to do, Aubrey? Role
Exactly,
play?
right? This
Okay.
first role play, it's going to be the same basic sentences in both of these, but we'll first show you what it would look like with
Okay.
passive voice, with simple sentences, a little less concise, and then we'll show it using today's strategies.
Excellent. Let's do it. Here we
All right,
go.
I'll start us out.
Okay.
The accident was caused by me. I ran a red light.
Oh no. Were you on your phone?
Oh, there was a tall truck in front of me. It went through a yellow light. I couldn't see past it.
Oh, I see. You followed them through the light. It was red by the time you got through.
Yes. I have to go to traffic school now. That will remove the citation from my record.
Sometimes I have this problem when I'm driving on a highway or in a town. I can't see beyond the truck and I can't see an exit off ramp or a
Yes.
sign.
This exact thing happened to me once several years ago where I was
Really?
behind a really tall truck
Yeah.
and I didn't realize how close the stoplight was and I couldn't
Oh
see the
no.
stoplight because of this truck and I was maybe following a little too closely, but I
Yeah.
just remember as it went through the light and I just
Uh-huh.
followed it through the light and then I glanced and it was red and maybe it was like yellow for
No.
the truck, right? They kind
Yeah.
of like barely made it through, but I
Right.
definitely would have stopped if I had seen.
Oh
So anyway, this
no.
did happen to me. I'm like, "Oh gosh, I need to follow less
But
closely, make sure I can see all the
yeah,
stoplights."
I think that's the key is the following distance, but no
That too.
accident, right? Aubrey, your
No,
traffic
luckily no
stories scare
accident.
me.
I
Yeah, okay.
know. I have a few of them. Luckily, all of the other traffic in the intersection, they know to, like, wait for anyone going through that yellow light. At least I
Okay.
do. I don't wanna be the first one through an intersection. I'm making sure it's
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, good. Safe driving here at Allers English. Good stuff.
Exactly.
All right, now this is a what to do, how to make this more concise,
Yes,
right?
and then we'll show how we combined these sentences, whether we switched from passive to active. So let's show the better option here. I'll start us.
Okay.
I caused the accident when I ran a red light.
Oh no, were you on your phone?
No, there was a tall truck in front of me that went through a yellow light and I couldn't see past it.
Oh, I see. You followed them through the light, but it was red by the time you got through.
Yes, I have to go to traffic school now, and that will remove the citation from my record.
Okay, this is super high level, getting into complex and compound sentences. So, where's the first time we created a complex sentence, Aubrey?
All right. So that first thing I said, first of all, we switched to active voice here. I said, I caused the accident when I ran a
Mhm.
red light. Instead of in
Okay,
the first option, we had passive voice. The
right.
accident was caused by me. And sometimes you will
Yeah.
use passive voice to maybe take the focus off yourself, right? I'm like, oh, I want the emphasis to be on the accident and not me. But if I want to be more concise, more direct, and usually more natural sounding, I would use active
Mhm.
voice here.
Or it does depend on, if the cop is there and there are 4 people that came out of the car, who caused this accident? It was me, it was caused by me. That would be
Right.
appropriate to use passive voice, but that's a different kind of scenario,
Yeah, that's
right?
interesting. Well, the accident was caused by a driver that was me.
Yeah,
Trying to
driver,
take the
that
focus
was
off
me and
yourself.
still is me.
No, right.
Oh, it's funny.
But this is a
Um,
complex sentence here. So initially we had these simple sentences. The accident was caused by me.
yeah,
I ran a red light, and I'm having to pause there at these individual sentences. So here we've combined it. We have I caused the accident. That's
okay.
independent clause. And then when I ran a red light. This is an adverb phrase. So we have a complex sentence here. It just flows so
Mm,
much more smoothly.
I love it. And then we get into another complex sentence where you said, no, there was a tall truck in front of me that went through a yellow light and I couldn't see past it. So, what did we do here?
Exactly. So we had three individual simple sentences before. Now we've
Mm-hmm.
added that to
Mm-hmm.
combine the first two. So now that went through a yellow light. It's all an adjective phrase describing the truck and what it did. And
Mm-hmm.
then we add this conjunction and I couldn't see past it. So we're adding and tacking on another independent clause at the end. So we have this very interesting complex sentence, more
Mm.
complex grammar, but also going to flow much more smoothly when you're speaking.
And that's what our listeners want to be able to speak with this more complex grammar to truly express everything that is on their mind. So let's keep going here, Aubrey. So for the second to last one, I said, oh, I see. You followed them through the light, but it was red by the time you got through, right?
Yeah. So originally this was two simple sentences. Now we've
Mm-hmm.
added the conjunction but, combined them and made a compound sentence. So we have
Nice.
you followed them through the light. That's an independent clause. It could
Mm-hmm.
stand alone as a sentence. Then we
Mm-hmm.
have but, the conjunction, followed by another independent clause. It was read by the time you got through. So we've made a compound
Yes.
sentence here.
And we did it again in the last one. You said, yes, I have to go to traffic school now, and that will remove the citation from my record.
Exactly.
Right?
Another compound sentence here, just flow, having these two ideas flow together. And it makes sense, right? Because these are very related. Going to traffic
Hmm.
school, that will remove the citation. Often with these type of thoughts that are so related, it feels choppy and strange to
Hmm.
divide it into individual simple sentences.
I love it. I love it. This is great. So, this is part 3 in our series, Aubrey, on how to be concise. And again, where can they go to get the other parts of the series?
Yes, guys. If you missed part 1, it was episode 2410 on All Ears English, How to Be Concise, part 1, Direct Your Message. And then
Hmm.
2413 was part 2. So all three installments of the series are right here on All Ears English, How to Be Concise, part 2, Choose Your Words. So
I
it's
love
about
it.
your message being concise, the vocabulary we need to use, and now the grammar.
All right, guys, if you have loved this 3-part series on All Ears English, make sure you hit the follow button to get our next 2 or 3-part series right here on the show. Aubrey, where should we leave our listeners? This idea of being concise, it's powerful, right?
It is, right? It makes you a better conversationalist in your
Hmm.
daily life. And it does improve skills like public speaking, giving
Yes.
presentations, leading meetings, all of these. We all know people who are concise and those who are not, right? The TMI, long message, wordy,
Long-winded.
what they're saying is
Yes.
wordy, long winded, right? And there is so much value to being more concise.
Oh my gosh, especially if you are at a level on the show where you are at B2, C1, it is time to step up and become more concise. You've got the individual pieces of these sentences, now moving to create complex sentences using active grammar. This is how you become better at really public speaking. I think the time when it's the most important is when you're pulled in front of a group and you're being asked to say something important. People can get a little irritated if you don't get to the point quickly. And this can be different culturally too, Aubrey, of course. But I can tell you in
Absolutely.
American business culture, Western business culture, super important to get to the point and be concise.
Yeah, so important in work, but also in daily conversations. I know people
Yes.
who write TMI, wordy, using passive voice sometimes when,
Really? Oh my
yes,
gosh.
I do. Yes, this does happen in conversations too. So it's vital for, both in daily conversations and also at work.
I love it. I'm so glad we covered this topic today. And for any of our students listening who are coming to OCC, I want to see these skills right there in class. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Nice. We'll see you
All right.
there.
All right. Sounds good. Bye, Aubrey.
Bye.